Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Heidi's Lane. I am so excited today because I have a very special guest who I connected with about something that I have been so intrigued by for a very long time. And she offered to do a service for me. And I decided I was going to wait to have this service done or this reading until I could actually podcast it. So I'm very excited today. I have Erin Claire Jones here with us today. Erin, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here with you.
I'm very, very excited to have you here. Now, everyone listening, Erin is a renowned human design educator, and she's helped thousands of individuals and companies. Is that right, Erin?
Correct.
Step into, from what I understand, human design, step into their truest selves, right? To reach their highest potential. And I love, Erin, from what I understand, your work has been featured in all these major publications like Forbes and MindBodyGreen, Well+Good. And I know that you're an authority in making human design this technique, or what do you call this? What is this?
Just a system.
A system. This system accessible. Yeah, it's accessible to everyone and accessible to everyone in everyday life. I'm very excited to dive into this with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm really happy to be here and dive into it with you. It's so fun to kind of get your first experience live on the podcast. I'm so curious to hear how it resonates or not.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Well, I have to say, so my very first introduction to what human design is, and I think a lot of people listening may not, actually, they may have heard about it because I've mentioned it before on my podcast. We never really dove into it. But my first introduction to human design was I was in a mastermind, and I had my friend, Lewis Howes, his girlfriend, Marta. She had come up to me. She's like, Heidi, you have to do this. I did human design. It is the craziest thing. It was like a blueprint of my soul. We should do it for you. And at the time, Dave was there. We want to do it for Dave. So she helped me download this app that had a free version of human design, right? And so I was able to figure out what I was, or I thought I was. I don't remember if I had my birth date in there or my birth time in there. So it may actually be different. At the time, it's this human design, or this blueprint to my soul, said I was a generator. You're going to have to confirm whether this is true or not.
Correct. Yeah.
But because it was a free version, there wasn't a heck of a lot of information. At the time, was so busy that I was like, I don't want to pay for more yet, because I won't have time to dive into it. So when you and I had connected, I was so excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to figure out what this is. I'm a generator. I hear that when you live into your human design, so when you're aware of it and you live into it, it opens up like the entire world for you. Like the world truly becomes yours to claim. Is that right?
Yeah, because it really is just identifying the optimal way of operating in every part of your life and just leaning into that. And I think there's a lot of energy wasted when we try to be the things that we're not. And so I think human design really returns us to who we are in every area.
I love this. I love it. So Erin is going to be doing a reading for me today. You guys are going to listen to it. But before we actually get there, I want to dive in a little bit to what human design is, a little deeper. And also, Erin, I want to talk about your background a little bit because I'm so curious. Anytime, like you've been doing this for 10 plus years, right?
10 years this year. Yeah.
I didn't even know that like this was a thing until 2 years ago. And so it's crazy to think that this has been around for 10 years. I'm sure maybe it's even been around longer, right? But like just hearing about this, do you mind walking me through your journey? Like what brought you to human design in the first place and then made you want to share it with the world? Because is this your full-time focus now?
Yeah, and it has been for a while. I don't think I could have ever expected this would be my path, but I discovered human design in 2015 in a very serendipitous way. I was living in New York City and met a stranger at a party who asked to read my human design chart. And he sat down and gave me this like 20-minute reading. And it was the most confronting yet like permission giving thing I'd ever heard. I was like, how are you giving language to my inner workings? But also like, I feel so called out because I was like so not living any of it. And he actually ended that conversation by saying, Erin, I think you're meant to do this. I want to like take you under my wing and I want to like teach you human design. So it was just like such a crazy cosmic moment in my life because it felt like a real crossroads. And I was like, okay, like teach me everything. I'm not sure if I would have like gone down the rabbit hole so deeply had I not been invited in. And my human design is actually all about being invited in. So it was perfect. But I think, like you said, like this was at a time where human design was not cool. No one knew what it was. It was super on the fringe. And so it's been really amazing over the past 10 years to watch human design grow in its popularity and awareness and to kind of watch people realize, like, oh my God, like this is such a helpful tool to help me really find alignment in my life. And so, and I will just say, I think what drew me so much to human design is that it is as mystical as it is practical.
Mm.
It's mystical and that is based on our birth information. Like we aren't answering a questionnaire. It like gives us this kind of blueprint to how we operate, but it's incredibly practical because it gives you this information paired with actual tools to like bring that information to life and to actually use it in your career and as a parent and in your relationships. And so I think I was really drawn to that because I think so often we don't need more information. We just kind of need the right information at the right time to really experience that transformation. And I think human design does that so well.
I love what you just said. Human design is just as much mystical as it is practical.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because, especially for someone listening who's new, um, they might not really understand. There's like a magic side of it. The paragraph or two that I read when it said generator, I read that and I was like, "What? Like this is me? How do they know this about me?" Like it's really you. And as human beings, I feel like we all have a need to be seen
Mm-hmm.
and to be acknowledged and heard. And did this for me in that small way.
Yeah.
Um, I love that you say that. Now, for anyone who is new, you've explained what human design is, like what it is.
Yeah.
That mystical side of it meets practical. Can you explain a little bit of how it works? And I say this because I know people who are into astrology in my life, right?
Yeah.
And then there are people who know their Enneagram type, right? Like, is this similar? Does it work similar to these? And how is it different?
Yeah, I think that I would definitely like group it into those in terms of like it's a personality assessment tool. It's just more mystical because it's based on our birth information.
Mm,
I mean, I think all these systems support each other so much. I
yeah.
think what drew me to human design was not only the kind of the practical piece, which I have found is missing in a lot of systems, like in terms of how to actually use it, but like the specificity. I think that just so you know, like when I'm looking at your chart, it's not like I'm going to look at somebody else and be like, oh, you guys have the same chart. Like there are like hundreds of thousands, bajillions of different configurations. So it's so personalized to you. Um, but yeah, I think that's to me what differentiates it the most, like specificity and the practicality. But like I would for sure group it into those things. And I do just find that like human design, I think similar to what you experience, like it feels very familiar.
Mm,
Often when people are explain their human design, they're like, I know that. Like that's like how do you know that? Like I've had the most skeptical people be like, Erin, you must have been like following me around for the past 5 years because I don't understand how you would know it. So like, and I will just say for any skeptics listening, because I imagine there are many, like I think what matters most to me is not whether human design is true, but whether it's useful. And
yeah.
so I think when I sit with teams or I sit with people that are not really drawn to woo-woo systems like this, like I think I just kind of pose the question, like, does it feel useful? Like, does it feel resonant? And I think like the answer is often so undeniably yes.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I sit with people that are like, I don't want to believe what you're saying, but everything you're saying resonates so deeply. So you must tell me everything about everyone in my life right now, because they're just like, it doesn't make sense. And yet, and so I think that there's just like this level of resonance that's pretty remarkable.
I related so much to what you said when you at the beginning said you had your chart read
Yeah.
from this guy at this party
Yeah.
and you felt so called out.
Totally.
Right?
So
Because
called out.
yes, I feel like it called out, and I don't know, we're about to see the whole thing, but like it's almost like it can see a part of me that I am scared to let other people see, or that I'm scared
Mm,
to allow myself to see, which
yeah.
is why as you speak about it and I think about certain things, I actually get chills. And I heard once to the specificity. I heard once that, and you can confirm or deny this, or confirm its truth or not, debunk it. But I heard that no two people have the same human design chart. Like no matter who it is, when they were born, everyone has a very unique chart for them. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, if you are born at the same time as somebody, like the same minute, then you will have the same chart. You will
Okay.
probably express that chart in super different ways. But yeah, it's like, it's crazy in that way. It's like we had one of our offerings is kind of giving people a customized guide to their design. And we don't even cover everything because it's impossible. Like we cover the most important pieces. And just that specific offering, there are 420,000 possible versions of it. And like,
Wow.
that's not that that's like the most important stuff. And still there's so much underneath it. So it's just like, it's so hyper specific and so hyper personalized, which I think is often why it's so resonant.
So would it have to be the same time and minute as well as location of birth? Because I know you had to give that. How does that work?
Well, the location is really just for the time zone.
Okay.
So
Got it.
like if
Okay,
it's like
that
New
makes
York
sense.
or Boston, you know what I mean? It's not going to be, that's all that would matter.
Okay. Okay. So I do have one more specific question before we go into my chart reading, which I'm really
Okay.
excited about. um, so the I guess the last specific question that I know people listening might have is, so once they have this information, I'm going to take that back. I have two more questions. Okay.
Okay,
The
great.
first,
As
I'm going
many
to
as you'd
change.
like.
Yeah. So the first one I have actually is, have you ever sat with someone,
hmm
given them their human design, and they're like, nope, this isn't me at all. You got it wrong.
Okay, so I have two stories to share. The
Okay.
answer is like no, but like, so the two stories to share, one is that this was a friend and it was, I don't know, 9 years ago. He wasn't even a client. I remember sharing his human design with him and he was like, I don't like that at all. Like, it wasn't even, it doesn't resonate. He's like, I don't like it. And I was like, okay, interesting. I was like, so how does the way that you're showing up now feel? Like, you're obviously not living your design. That's fine. Like, if it works for you, it works for you. But how does it feel? He's like, it feels terrible. And I was just like, I like just had nowhere to go. I was like, you don't like how you're showing up, but you also aren't willing to do it differently. And I remember, and he was, I think, having a hard time. And then like 3 years later, he like rediscovered human design and like fell totally in love with it. So it's just like at that moment where he was like unwilling to see another way. And then once he rediscovered it, he was like, this is amazing. So that was one experience. The other was with a friend of mine who loved human design, but there was one specific piece that didn't resonate. And it was just so interesting because he was like so into it all. And then like we just discovered one day that like we had looked at the wrong time and that piece changed. And that like blew
What?
my mind because like even I was just like, wait, what? Like, and then he was like, oh, that one makes all the sense. And I just like couldn't even believe it was so trippy. So like I definitely like that for me was so confirming. But I think, yeah, I mean, there are times where people are like, they like I don't have many experiences of people not resonating with it.
Yeah.
Whether they're living it is a totally different story. But I think for often for people, it just like speaks to such a deep part of them that they're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like thank God somebody put language to this.
Yeah, I love that. And I do feel like sometimes when someone knows, I'll speak for myself. There were times in my life where I knew I wasn't living into my purpose, right? And I think even if someone would have at that point or did bring information to me, say an older, wiser person who could see my path, my probable, almost inevitable future if some of my patterns had continued, if they had kind of helped me in a way that gave me what I needed or showed me the way, the ego shows up and resists, or the like, the need to be right, or
Yeah.
the uncertainty in, okay, well, this is comfortable though right now, that is scary to think of it being any other way.
Yeah.
So I could actually see anyone listening, if you have your human design chart read and there is resistance, or you're at a place in your life where you're feeling stuck, I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to want to relate to, even if you're like, oh shoot, it's telling me something that I probably need, but I'm not even gonna, we don't want to, we're not ready to look at it yet. And so I love that you
Totally.
said your friend 3 years later
Yeah.
had been opened up. Like sometimes we need pain and discomfort and trauma and tragedy to kind of crack us open. And I think it looks different for everyone. It might not be tragedy.
Of
And
course.
once we break it, like that's kind of where the light can come in and
Yeah.
maybe redo. I'm going to relate it to one thing. So I was raised Mormon, and my son's actually on a Mormon mission right now. And in the Mormon religion, they have something called a patriarchal blessing. And the patriarchal blessing, when my kids got it Maddox got it right before his mission. I think I was 15 or 16. I don't remember. And I remember when I was younger, even in my 20s, I would read it and I'm like, I gotta a lemon. Like mine doesn't relate to me at all. It's
Mm-hmm.
not deep. It's not any of the things. This is not me. And
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting is as time goes on, right? It's like there are parts that I'm like, okay, wait, now I see this because the world has become when we put on different lens, we're able to see
Yeah.
more. And I have this belief, and I could be wrong, but I have this belief that God has so many different ways to speak to us, so
Mm-hmm.
many, right? To us directly through something like a human design, right? Which is based on when we were born and
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff. So to anyone listening who's like, oh, that's astrology and
Yeah.
God created the cosmics, right? Like, so to me, it's all connected. And I think it's all so beautiful. So I'm really excited to dive into this. And I'm excited to introduce
Mm.
everyone listening to this and to you. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say, or should we dive in?
I mean, I'm ready to dive in. I
Okay.
just love that reflection because I do feel like I've seen that with people so often where they'll just like
Yeah.
have an experience of it and then they'll return to it when they're really ready. And then it's like, oh, this makes sense now. And so like I do always remind people, they're like, oh, this doesn't resonate or this piece. And I'm like, let it go. Like if you come back and it feels great later, amazing. But like don't force yourself to make it make sense. Like if it doesn't feel useful right now, that's enough. That's enough reason to put it aside.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I kind of like to lead with the usefulness piece because it often will be useful, just like you can't always control the time.
I love that. It's like
Yeah,
any book, any good book,
totally.
right? Anyone
Anything.
who's
Yeah.
religious, the Bible, any self-development book, you read it again 5 years later, and it's like, oh crap, I
Yeah,
missed this.
totally. Yeah. So good.
I love it. Okay, should we go into it? How does this
Yeah.
work? I'm
Let's talk
nervous.
about you. Yeah. Oh
Okay.
my God. Don't be nervous. I think that and I think one thing I would say, and I always remind people of this at the beginning of sessions, human design is meant to be a thing that empowers you, not a thing that disempowers you. So if anything I share doesn't feel useful, supportive, resonant, please let it go.
Okay.
I think, again, what matters most to me, like I said, is whether it's useful and not even whether it's true. And so I kind of think of human design as just a really cool framework to kind of like jumpstart the conversation about who we are and what we choose,
Mhm.
and so you can be like, oh, that feels good, or it doesn't. And like, that's all perfectly fine. So let's begin. And if people want to look up their design, they can at
Okay.
humandesignblueprint.com because you might share certain pieces and some things
Okay.
might be relevant to you too.
Humandesignblueprint.com.
Blueprint.com.
I'll make sure I put that in the show notes.
Perfect.
And also how to contact you if they have questions, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. We'll put all that there.
So the first piece of human design is our type. There are 5 different types. That's kind of where we always begin. So like you remember perfectly, you are a generator in human design. So there are a few kind of key pieces I would remind you
So I
of.
am a generator.
You are right. You remembered it perfectly. So as a generator, you are somebody who has a lot of powerful energy to kind of build, create, and make things happen when you feel genuine excitement and like are really lit up by what you're doing. When you're lit up, you're like unstoppable. Your energy is endless. You're like so magnetic. Opportunities are just like flowing your way.
Yep.
However, when you say yes to things that like don't light you up or like you think you should or because people ask and you think you should, it just drains your battery so quickly and it's a fast path to burnout. So I would say one of the most kind of fundamental lessons for generators is that prioritizing your own satisfaction, your own passion, your own personal fulfillment is not a selfish choice. It's like the most generous choice you can make because when you do that, you're like the brightest person in the room and you become such a vibrant force for partners, for kids, for friends. And so like a lit up generator is like, there's just nothing that beats that. My husband's a generator. And like when he's excited, I'm like, this is like the most delicious, juicy energy to be around because it's just like the sun. It lifts everyone up around them.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Because that is like so me. I'm not kidding. And what's interesting, Erin, is I'm dealing with the other side of that right now. I recognize that like when I am saying yes to things that are actually a no, like I can say it all day. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. I have such a hard time allowing others to process heavy feelings. That's really what it is. That's what it boils down to. So if someone asks me for something or asks me to do something or even asks me to um, do a work meeting that I know is a no, I say, I'd love to. I actually lie. I am a liar. I say, I would love to, even though in my heart, I'm like, I am only going to let them down. Right. So then it creates this path and it just sucks me dry
Totally.
when I'm aligned and when I am having fun. If I am
Hmm.
having fun, I
Oh,
can do. I love it.
yeah.
You just nailed that. Okay.
Well, I just love that reflection of like when I'm having fun because it is like it's supposed to be fun. And that's when like when you're having fun, it's just like things just keep showing up. And that kind of extends to another part of your design, which is around the fact that as a generator, you're incredibly magnetic. Like you are not somebody who's meant to like sit at home and be like, what is the next thing that I'm going to do? Or like,
Yeah.
what is the next podcast episode? Or what is the next thing? Like it's just meant to show up in your world and your body's going to say yes or no to it. And like it's kind of meant to be as simple as that. And so you're just meant to kind of like have fun and like and see what your visceral response is to the things that show up in your world and trust the things that you're naturally drawn to, even if those things and those people are unexpected and don't kind of fit the box of what you thought you might want.
I have chills. I have chills. I've always said I do best when I can flow through life,
Yeah.
right? And allowing myself. I don't like to think about what's in 5 years because I don't know. A lot can change in a month for me. And
Hmm.
you said visceral response, right? So
Yeah.
like I'm really learning my body,
Yeah.
and I can feel a no, right? Like it's like
Hmm.
I can feel it in my body. I love that you brought that up because that's an
Hmm.
important thing.
Hmm.
So when
Well,
it's a no, I need to let it go.
yeah. And that's like, and I would just say that like that is kind of a challenging and important lesson for all generators is just the one around boundaries and saying no, because like you are so capable and like you do have so much powerful energy to give. And so it's tempting to be like, okay, I can handle that and I can help you and I can do this. But like
Mm.
it just drains your battery very quickly. So it is around saying yes when it really feels right. And like you said, when it's really full bodied, and saying no or not right now when it's not that, knowing that like I think to your point, like it doesn't actually benefit anyone when you say yes when you don't actually have the energy or the conviction, because like they're not going to get the best of you, you're not really going to have the energy, it'll be much harder to kind of muster up the energy to make it happen, and it's just not worth it, you know. And sometimes it's a not
Yeah.
right now, sometimes it's like no, and then like a month later you're like yes, like I would love
Yeah.
to.
And
And
that's
like
a great response. Not right now.
right,
Yeah.
not right now, it could change.
Yeah. This particular person, I mean, I say yes to business meetings a lot. And then what happens is it's not a priority because I know it's a no.
Yeah.
Because there are so many other things that deserve and need, and I choose to have my attention right now,
Yeah.
predominantly my family and my kids, and then the things that are fun in business and career because they work right when they're fun. But what ends up happening is the yes followed by pushing, because my biggest complaint in life is that I do not have enough time,
Yeah.
right? And that's partially because I say yes to things. So then the people who matter or I want in my life, I'm having to push them away to shuffle around these other things.
Right.
And then it has everyone not having a positive experience with me and me feeling wrong, right?
Yeah.
Which probably stops the generator.
Yes, and like and just scatters you. And I would say one piece, and I'm going to kind of jump around here just because
Hmm.
there's so many things to talk about. But like we all have areas in our design that can reveal areas of potential challenge, but also growth. And so I would say an area of potential challenge for you doesn't mean it's challenging, is that you are somebody who's very easily inspired, but also because of that can be very easily scattered, which means that you might have a yes you
Very much, very
um,
much so, you guys.
which means like you might have a conversation with somebody who's super excited about working with you. They're like really thrilled. And like you can like take on that inspiration. You're like,
Yeah.
I am so excited too. And then you might walk away and you're like, I'm not excited. Like their excitement was infectious. And then like you might find yourself so scattered and then you're like not actually prioritizing the things like you said that truly fulfill you. So let me just tell you how I would recommend navigating that.
Okay.
We also all have ways of making decisions in human design. And so for you, the way that you're meant to make decisions, like you said, is very gut driven, body based. So I kind of love
Mm.
the journey you're on in terms of connecting more deeply to your body, because it is this visceral feeling. It's like when something shows up, you're often going to feel a pull, an expansion, like a rising of energy, like an in your voice, or you're going to feel like a contraction, a deflation, like a
Mm.
pushing away. And so like your gut does have this immediate response that your mind might not be able to make sense of. And you've got a very powerful, logical mind.
Mm.
So my guess is it will attempt to. So is this all clear so far?
I very, very, very clear. It's like as you're speaking, I'm like, oh, because I committed to something else. I'm very scattered.
Totally.
I committed to something else because I felt like I needed to. I don't know
Right.
why. I didn't want to upset somebody.
Yeah.
And I got myself excited on the phone.
Yeah.
And then I got off and I was like,
I don't
What
want
did
to
I
do
just say yes to? And I had my employee, my worker, not worker, that sounds bad, but my right hand woman. She's honestly everything. So let me just clarify that. I had Alexa sitting next to me and I said, what was I doing? She's like, I was wondering how you were going to take on all of that. Like, you have so much
it.
going on. And so then it's like, okay, now I need to clean this up. But it was there's a little bit of a high when we excite ourselves. And then when it ends, it's like, it just crashes down.
Okay,
Maybe I need
so
to wait before I make
oh my
decisions.
God, you are so hilarious. So the next part of your okay, so you are, and why I say that is because yes, you are a gut-driven decision maker, but there's a nuance for you, and this is not true for everybody. This is what we call your emotional authority. And so some people are like instantaneous in the moment, their gut feeling gives them a feeling, and they're like, I'm going for it. You are not that person. What is recommended, I'm just like, you're telling me your design before I'm even telling you your design, is that like when you get a gut instinct about something, your job is to pay attention to it and note it without acting immediately. In
Ooh,
an ideal world, you would give yourself 24 to 72 hours after
okay.
that first instinct to see if the feeling sustains. Because like you are a deeply emotional person. So you might be on like an emotional high and you're like, yes, I'm inspired. Yes, I'm into it. I have the same thing. And then you might wake up the next day or even get off the phone call and be like, I don't want to do that. You
Yeah.
know, like again, I was inspired, like it was a momentary thing. So I would say for you, the best feelings are not the ones you love in the moment. They're the ones you love over time. And they're the ones that come
Mm,
from like a very calm, settled place within you, not from kind of like this nervous, excited, emotional energy. And so, like, I will say, as somebody that shares this, it's annoying.
it
Like, I'm just
is.
like, I just want to know, I just want to tell you in the moment. But I've just had enough experiences where I've said yes only to regret it almost immediately after that
Yeah.
I know it's almost always worth it because then I'm going to back out or I'm not going to show up and it's just going to be like a messy thing. And so like
Yeah.
I would create a buffer time for yourself to just be like, okay, that sounds amazing. Like, can I let you know tomorrow? Can I let you know in 2 days? Because I want to make sure if I
Mm.
say yes, it comes from like a wholehearted place. And I just want to wait until I get that.
I feel like you need to write that. I need to write that down. I'm going to, I need that exact line. I'm going to memorize it and say it. Um, because there is, I have a hard time telling people. It's in my mind. I'm like, oh, if I tell them they need 72, I need 72
Yeah.
hours. That's going to make them uncomfortable. There I am again,
Yeah.
trying to manage and be responsible for everyone's feelings. I love this, and this would explain why love has been really difficult for me.
Mm,
When I was younger, I was very. I mean, I know love and I love deep, but when I was younger, there were multiple engagements, and
wow.
all broken off because it was like in the moment or whatever it was. So it is like that's my homework really right now, is
Mm-hmm.
getting good at waiting and
Mm-hmm.
making a decision from a place
Yeah.
of calm and peace.
Exactly. And like knowing that it's not only a way to respect yourself, but it's also a way to respect other people, you
Ooh,
know? Because it is, I hear what you're saying. It's just like, oh, but I want them to be okay and they want this. And it's also like, but again, if I'm saying yes from like a not a wholehearted place, not from a convicted place, like that it's not going to benefit them because then I'm going to back out, you
yeah.
know? And like, and there is something I have found. I used to feel like if I asked for time, like opportunities would disappear, or like whatever. But I've learned that when I ask for time, it often makes them respect me more because they're like, oh, like she's only going to say yes if she really means it. And my experience is like things get more compelling in the waiting period.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, I like really do want that. So like I'm going to, I don't know, add this or make this happen. So like it has been fun to be like, when I give myself time, like some opportunities will disappear. I trust those are not the right ones,
yeah.
but the ones that are right tend to kind of get better and even juicier. And so like I just like know that that's a good thing.
I love it. Okay. Thank you. I'm
Of course.
inspired.
Okay, good. And I also want to offer one more kind of thing around decision making. So,
Mhm.
because you are somebody who's a gut driven decision maker, one of the best ways to communicate with your gut is to ask you really specific yes, no questions. So, an
Okay.
example of this would be if you're like, oh, should I like do this partnership or whatever? Instead of asking, like, what do you want to do about it? I would be like, do you want to do this partnership? And do you want to do it
Mm,
right now? And I would just see what like your visceral response is. So, that could also be a cool thing to like do with Alexa when you're feeling unclear, you're not sure whether you want to do it, like having her be like, do you want to do this? And like, you might be surprised. I can't even tell you how often I've sat with clients in sessions and they will talk around a decision for 20 minutes. And then I'll be
yeah.
like, just one moment. Do you want to do it? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, let's move on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like so clear and so immediate. and
Yeah.
so visceral. Like, yes, you've got to give yourself time, but like your body often knows. And like I said, you've got a really powerful active mind. So my guess is you could convince yourself in or out of basically any decision. So there's something about kind of speaking directly to your gut in that way that might bring you clarity.
This is so awesome. As you were kind of painting that picture, I was putting myself there. Alexa's in the room, and in another specific incident, I'm envisioning her saying, "Do you want to do it?" No,
Right.
no. And it's like sometimes I'm like, man, that is my authentic self that I need to
Totally.
feel okay bringing forward. The
Yes.
answer is no.
Answer is no.
But we there's a lot of things that kind of get in the way. It's like, okay, shoot, finances, and but then I have to remember that sometimes those factors that we're weighing out are fear based, not faith based, right? Or
Totally.
trust based in light.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
right. There are going to be other things that sometimes it's not always possible to honor what you know feels right because there are
Mhm.
other factors at play. But like, I think what often happens with people with a design similar to this is like you'll have a visceral feeling, you'll have a knowing, and then you're going to get in your head about all the reasons why you should or should not do the
Mm.
thing. So like the questioning doesn't stop. It's more
Yeah.
around how can you like keep returning to the fact that like this actually doesn't feel right. And so it's probably not going to lead me in the right direction. Or actually this like really does feel right and it's super scary and it's risky. And yet like I know that I've got to do it. So it's
Mm.
about, and it's just like giving yourself enough experiences where you can like start to test, like, can I really trust my gut in this way? And often over time, you're like, oh, I can, it is leading me in the right direction.
I swear, Erin, you were like inside of my coaching calls and therapy calls these days because one of the things I'm working on is trusting my gut
So
because
cool.
there's such distrust in my decision making right now there's trust and security and confidence in who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the pattern of saying yes when it's a no, or saying yes and feeling it in the moment and later realizing it was a so this is you reading this to me today is actually helping me heal a part of me that I have been really trying to work on.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah,
You
thank
know,
you.
my pleasure. I think it's funny. I think I've been working with a lot of coaches recently and therapists in terms of how to integrate human design into their work because
Mm,
it is so cool, I think, for practitioners to just have this language because
mm.
then they're sort of like, oh, like this is how I can really tailor my support to this person because like I really understand their mechanics in a whole different kind of way. So
Oof.
I love, but that's the magic of human design. Like it's going to come up. This is you. This is who you are. So it's going to be inevitable. And this is just giving you language for it and a framework for it and probably validating like, oh yeah, this is like a thing that I do need to work on.
Yes. I
So,
love it. Okay, go ahead.
so one thing that is also distinct in your design, this is all kind of beyond type, but um, you are, and so for those who are familiar with human design, what I'm referencing is her open identity center. I know that's going to mean little to anyone, to other people that don't know what human design
Okay.
is or the language, but it basically means that you are somebody who's incredibly sensitive to your physical space. Like you
Yes.
being in the right physical space is such a key aspect in kind of getting you in the right flow. And I mean that in all the ways. Like if you're going on a
Mm.
date, being in like a restaurant that you enjoy, like at a table that you like living in a city that you like, having your office feel good, having your home feel good, like you being in the right spaces, like, and you said like living in the flow, that's what you love, like being in the right spaces, like one of the most important factors to actually get there. And like, I would really encourage you to be high maintenance about your space, meticulous about your space. And like, not like if you walk into a party even and it feels wrong, like leave.
Walk
You know
out.
what I mean? If you go to a hotel and it doesn't feel right and you like have the means, switch. Like you being in the right space is such an expansive thing. I have another piece I want to share about that, but I'm just curious how that feels to you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I see, I am pretty particular about that. And
Yeah.
truly, I have walked into a handful of hotel rooms that are fine. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's something off. And so
Yeah.
I will switch.
Inexplicable.
And I'll
Yeah.
go to the same room, different level, whatever it is. Like I just need a different room because I can feel a vibe, whether it's
Yeah.
positive or negative or
Totally.
dark or light. Um, and I also think it's very interesting because I do a lot of thinking about where I'm at and how it feels.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm glad this is something I'm already aware of, but like, little personal when I actually the relationship that I'm in right now, back in right now,
Hmm.
is somehow magically beautiful. And it's because he's done a lot of work on himself. And I, during that time, did a lot of work on myself. But when we were really struggling. Um, the surroundings, and his house was beautiful, and all the didn't matter what was there. I could not go into the space. Had nothing to do with his animals
Wow.
and his family, but like when I went into the space, it was like I can't be here. I can't. Like my body, it was I no matter how hard I try to convince myself, my
Hmm.
body does not lie.
Hmm.
And also what I've learned, and I think this is beautiful too, is what's true today isn't necessarily true tomorrow.
I was gonna say
What was true
exactly.
yesterday isn't true today. And I like the miracles with so many people I've seen in my life um, happen is wonderful. And then when that shift on a soul or an energetic level happens, a space that was previously a no
Hmm.
can become the most beautiful yes.
I
I
know.
love it.
That's why I like love just the like no or not right now, because it's just like it's not necessarily no forever. And I was gonna say that when you're sharing it, like, yeah, that space like really might not feel right. And that's a real signal. That's a thing to listen to. And that same space might feel perfect in a month or 3 months. So it is just kind of that sign of like, oh, it just doesn't feel right now, and that's okay. Like it's not the right place for me at this moment. Um, the other piece that's connected to this is that you are also somebody who's meant to have a very flexible sense of identity. And basically what that means is like you are not somebody who's here to find like your one purpose where you're like, I found my thing, I'm with it for life. Like you are here to express yourself in many different ways throughout your life. And so the question for you is never like, who are you and what's your purpose? But it's like, what feels the most like you right now? And it's
Oh,
not like locking into anything too much. And you might even find like, even on like a more local level, like you might find that different friends pull out different parts of you, different environments pull out different parts of you. Like there's just so many layers. And so it's not about like attaching to one version, because there are lots of versions that are actually all authentic. They're all just like bringing out different parts of who you are.
I love that. So have you seen there's the 360 Buddha face?
Yeah.
Have you seen that where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and they all kind of run into each other? They're all so beautiful. It's so cool. On one of my mentors recently was showing this because I was like struggling with what you're saying a little bit. Like it kind of come
Mm-hmm.
up. I was like, it's just sometimes it's hard to nail down. Now I
Yeah.
love this part of me. Now in certain situations and circumstances, it can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she pulled that up and said, kind of gave me the lesson, like all of the parts of you, right? Whether it's all these different identities or hats you wear, or the good that you're capable of and the not so good that you're capable of. And all these things are all true and they are all you, right?
Yeah.
And some of them served you, when you were younger and don't serve you now and need to be put to rest or whatever. But they're still there and they're still you and they're beautiful. So I love that.
Mm.
In business, for many years I remember I would have social media um, oh, advisors that would
Yeah.
say, you really need to nail down who you are. Like, let's come up with an
Mm.
identity, right? Like, there was someone who was the queen of workouts and this other guy who's the king of this and all these things. And I would always say, I can't. I have so many different facets to me. I don't want, I would feel so claustrophobic,
Yeah.
boxed into something. And I recognize that having a shifting, evolving dynamic to who I am means some people will go when
Yeah.
I don't resonate. And I also recognize the beautiful part is it means that the people who are evolving with me or needing what I am at that point can follow along and will find me. So this,
Mm-hmm.
amen. Amen to what you said. I love it.
Yeah, no, and again, it's just like you already know this. It's just like validating that. And like there for some people, like the niching down and the like defined identity is like gonna feel really good for them.
Mm,
And that's why it's so useful to kind of not only understand your own design, but the designs of your kids and your
mm.
partners and your colleagues, because you look at the areas where you're like, I found this so helpful with two daughters with very different designs than mine, where I'm like, oh my God, these girls are not like me. And like the more I like expect them to be like me, like the more like confused I will become. And so it's just so nice kind of walking into the experience of parenthood because they're young with the expectation that they're going to be different. So yeah.
I actually have a list of people I would love to get your help with.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah,
I
totally.
yeah, I'm like, it's almost better than a background check. Let me
Totally. You're just like, right. And I feel like often I sit with couples in couple sessions and they're like, there's this friction, and the friction is like not based on like a fundamental disconnect. It's just because they don't understand each other. Like one person
Mm,
is a rapid decision maker, the other person takes a month. One person is like a
wow.
doer with all this energy, this other person needs a lot more rest. One
Yeah.
person like needs to dive deep in the details, like another person doesn't care about the details. It's just like these moments where it's like, this is not incorrect. It's just that our expectations are unrealistic because I'm expecting you to be like me and you're not
Yes.
like me. And human design just offers us this really cool framework to like look at all the very specific ways in which we're different,
Wow.
which
Yeah,
brings so much more
I love
compassion
that.
into. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, my kids who, the phases when each child goes through phases where they're easier and then a little more difficult. The phases that feel more difficult is often, now that I'm thinking about it, but it's when they're most unlike me, right?
Right.
And so that's, from what I'm understanding, you say like that, saying that's me resisting who they are, not knowing who they are, and therefore
Yeah,
resisting who they are, trying to make them who I think they need to be.
totally.
Oh,
And there's just something to be like, oh, you're just different. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, you're going to need, like, you're somebody who, like I said, might enjoy specific questions when deciding something. Like, they might want open ended ones. They might not want any questions at all. Like, there's just like all these simple ways of being like, oh, you just process things differently. And how can I learn how to support you in that?
and then do you find for parents who understand their child's human design and honor who they are,
Yeah.
does it can it shift? Have you seen big shifts in how children, how happy they are, how free they are? What's your experience?
I think what I see is that like the kids really feel free to be themselves. Like
Mm.
there's one specific type manifestors that just like aren't here to be told what to do at all and like are very specific in how they want to do things. And I was just came off of a call teaching human design coaches and students, and like a lot of them share they have manifestor kids, and they used to like always try to direct them, and it was so the kid would get so angry. And like then when they started to be like, okay, there are boundaries, but like I want you to have freedom to like set the terms, like all of a sudden like everything changed. And so like I do feel like what it offers is like permission to be themselves. And like I think it's so cool to understand your kids' designs, because I do find that like kids express their designs so purely when they're young. It's just like
Mm.
so authentic to who they are. And then they're like, oh, I should be this other thing, or I should walk this path. And then they kind of lose connection to it and then kind of reemerge later in life as themselves. But I think when kids are giving when parents are giving their kids permission to be who they are from day one, it
Yeah.
just like gives them more of a chance to just like stay true to that and know that like
Yeah.
it's perfectly okay that they are the way they are. So I just love when I hear parents integrating it into their parenting, not in a way where like I don't look at my kids like you must be an MG or you must be a manifestor, but I walk just like the path knowing that like these things might emerge, and I'm just going to like keep an eye open and see how I can support them when they do.
I love that. I can think back to, well, I had heard in a book somewhere, I don't know which one it was, but an author had said, we spend the first half of our lives, we're born who we are, right? So that
Yeah,
human design, we are born that, like free and alive and all the
totally.
parts of who we are. And that's where the beauty is. That's like pure love, right?
Yeah,
And then we spend the first half or portion of our lives becoming what we think we need to be, or who we think we need to be to get the love that we crave
yeah,
or need, right? So it's like for me, I think most of us, our parents, we kind of, and me with my kids, we put our kids in a box, and it's like, this is who you're going to be, this is how you're going to behave if you want my
yeah,
attention, if you want my love, if you want whatever, right? And then we get to a point where we maybe become an incredible person, right? But it's not really who we are. So we spend the second half of our lives dismantling and like undressing this thing
yeah.
that we've put so many boundaries around to once again become who we're meant to be. So I can kind of see
Mm,
that this could be a path for me and anyone listening. But I love my kids so much, but to allow them the freedom, because all of my shame and my mistakes and the things that I struggle with came from feeling like I needed to be something different than actually who I was.
totally.
And I would love for my kids to avoid that and to feel free to be who they are always.
Yeah.
So I love this.
Yeah. I know. It's really such an amazing, yeah. And whether or not you dig in your kids' designs, even just being like, oh, they're just different. And yeah, I do think there's something like, I don't want to say a shortcut or like a cheat sheet, but there is something about just being like, I like don't need to go down the path of trying to be another thing. Like I can just be this. And like when I've had parents buy sessions for like their 18-year-old, or like I've sat with like 21-year-olds, and I have to say that like it just like makes me so happy when I get to sit with somebody who's like making decisions and living their life, but like is really young and like just at the beginning of their journey in so many ways, because I'm just like, oh my God, to like discover this now, to be validated this way now. So it really, I think, can change so much.
I love that. There's a 21-year-old uh, who I have been working with and talking to, and she's so phenomenal. And I see, she's had a lot of hard struggles. And same, I see her doing things now that I'm like, man. In fact, I'm thinking of her. I'm like, oh, maybe she would like this. Like,
Totally.
but she's actually applying things and digging deep for answers. So
Mm.
there's so much value in this. I love it. I know we're almost 50 minutes.
Yeah. I know there's so
So
much to talk about. We'll stop the
there's
reading,
so
but there's
much.
more.
You know what's funny? I have a list of 12 questions from people in my DMs that I want to have answered. I wanted to go through all of the
Yeah.
different um, types, but I also feel like this is awesome. And I don't know if
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to go over now, because I want to have you back on for another
Yeah.
podcast to dive deeper. Do you
Yeah.
feel
We
like
can do
there's
it
anything
again.
else we want to talk about today before we do we
I
want to
have,
go into the other types, or do we want to save it?
I feel like it's good to save, because I
Okay,
think it'd
let's
be
save.
nice to have, I have one more thing I want to share about your design.
Yes. Oh,
Does
sorry.
that
Yeah,
sound good?
you can
No, no,
share as
no.
much as you want.
I think it's reasonable to stop because this is a lot, but I think that like, I do think it'll be nice to have a dedicated time for that. But
Yes.
I'm just curious how this part of your design resonates in particular.
Okay.
So you're what we call a 5-1. And I know that means nothing to you, but like one of the things it means in human design is that you're somebody who's here to have a big impact. It's like impacting people like far
Mm.
beyond your community. And you're somebody who's like a little bit unconventional and kind of see things in really new and different ways. But I think what's interesting to talk about is like, there's also this sense that people can like project a lot of things onto you, and they can see possibility in you. They can want you to be this and help them in this way. And like, and so much of your work, and it feels so relevant to what you were sharing around boundaries and saying no, like so much of your work is to like see everyone's projections for what they are, but to like not let yourself be moved by them, to not
Mm.
say yes to things because of what they want from you, to kind of not let somebody else's vision for you be the thing that guides you, but to really kind of stay rooted in your gut. And so like when people have this, I'm like, it's amazing. People like, they want everything from you. And also like, it just requires you to kind of like not get swept away with their visions for you. So I wanted to kind of just like end with that because it feels like an important thing to keep in mind.
I relate to that so well. It kind of goes into my not being able to say no, or no, I'm not going to say
Totally.
not being able to, my struggle, the challenge it is for me to say no, because it engagements in the past, whether it's
Yeah,
love or business, very similar.
exactly.
They knew I was the one. I knew
Right.
I wasn't, but they had such a, in my mind, I was like, oh, who am I to deny you what you know and you
No.
need? So I was taking on their dreams, right? Or
Yeah.
their intuition,
Their
their
vision.
gut.
Yeah.
And very similar with work stuff. In fact, one of the things that came up the other day that I had said yes to was not my vision at all. It was someone's projection of what would be best for them. And I was like, ooh, okay, yep, maybe I'm meant to be there. And then I got off, I'm like,
Totally.
what am I doing? So that
Totally.
completely resonates.
Mm. Yeah. I felt like that was an important piece to
Mm.
share.
And if there's more, I want to hear it. I think everyone probably wants to hear. Is there more?
Oh, there's so much more, but
Is
I don't want to
there?
oh my, it's endless. We could talk for hours. I don't want to overwhelm people or you. I guess here's the last piece I'll share. This is about one of your natural gifts. You have the gift of ambition, which basically means there's like
Mm,
just like a real drive in your life to like be successful and like do
yeah.
well. And, and I have this too, so I know it well, like there's just also such a lesson that like you're going to so burn out if you try to do it all by yourself. And so it's like the more allies you have that recognize your drive and see you, the more successful you'll be. And so it's like, yes, like you are here to be successful and be driven and all these things. And also like it comes from having the right support around you. So allowing that in.
You know, sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. So
It's
my
okay.
voice, as you say that, I had this thought. I think if you had read this to me 5 years ago, I would have, maybe even yeah, probably 5 years ago, I would have felt like, I'm never going to burn out. I don't know that I relate to that. Right. And then life hits and I am like,
Yeah.
my energy, my ambition, I have recognized that it is one of my greatest gifts and also has the power to completely destroy me if I'm not careful.
Hmm.
And it has, right?
Hmm.
It has completely brought me to depression and anxiety and panic attacks and
Yeah.
just the overwhelming pressure that I put on myself to do it all
Yeah.
and do it all perfectly
Hmm.
is it's a lot. To be the best
Hmm.
mom, to be the best,
Hmm.
what do my kids need? I want them all to be so happy.
Hmm.
So yeah, I completely
Mm,
love that. Thank you.
of course.
So when, like, of the human design chart that you read for minds, for I guess I'll say for people listening
Yeah.
who want to know what to expect when they have their chart read,
Yeah.
how much more is there than what you shared in mine?
So much more.
Is
I would
there?
say, yeah. I
I
would say like,
love it.
I mean, it's so endless. Like I would say, I don't know, like in terms of like if you get your kind of like if you upgrade and get your human design guide on our website, kind of in terms of what it will go into, I would say like what we covered is probably like 15%. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's on
That's so
everything.
awesome.
Yeah.
So when someone does, so what are their options if someone wants to dive deeper into human design, whether it's
Yeah.
through you or other resources you
Of course.
recommend? How do they do it? Are there different, like, okay, if someone just wants to put their toe in the water and get a little bit, like, what are the options?
So first look up your chart. Like I said, on our website, it's humandesignblueprint.com. And when you look up a chart and create an account, you'll actually get like dozens of free insights about you. And so like I would do that just to be like, does this resonate? Like, are these things useful? Like, does this feel like me? For us, if you upgrade your chart on our website, you'll basically kind of get an in-depth description of every piece of your chart, as well as like examples of how each piece can kind of be practically applied to your life.
Oh,
And I just
cool.
love that because again, it's not just like being a generator, but it's like what does it look like to actually like say no and honor your boundaries in these different parts of your life. So that's where I'd recommend starting. Like look up your design, get a
Yeah.
feel for it, see if it resonates, and then if you upgrade your chart, you can kind of like get a deep dive into all those pieces. Um, and then also, I know that we'll talk more about the book as it comes, but I have
Yes.
a book coming out in May and you can pre order it now. But I think the book is really good for you if you want to know specifically how human design can help you in your relationships and career. It's really
Oh,
around how it applies, and it's full of like case studies and stories and anecdotes of like, what does it actually mean to be like a generator in business? Or what does it actually mean to like partner with a generator? I'm like, is this chapter, can I give this to my partner so they can understand me better? So I was so excited to write this book because I just have never seen any exploration of the application of it like this. And it's based on case studies. I've sat with 4,000 people in sessions, you know, so really kind of walking people through what I actually have witnessed in my clients and what really helps them.
oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm like envisioning that, like, and maybe you already do this, but like a compatibility guide too. So I'm a
Totally.
generator.
Right.
What in love
I
is
know.
this? What in business is my ideal partnership for
I know.
this kind of a thing?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I feel
I
like we need to,
know.
we'll talk about that next
We'll
time.
talk
You
about
can
it.
kind
I
of, yeah.
know. I want to. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So also where can they find you on social media? Just so, or is it social media? Do you want them
Yeah.
just to go to Human Design
No,
Blueprint?
no, no. On we share a lot on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Human Design Blueprint and also at Erin Claire Jones.
Okay.
Um, that's where you can find me.
humandesignblueprint.com
Hmm.
and Erin Claire Jones on Instagram.
Yes,
Any other
yes. Erin Claire
platforms?
Jones on
Okay.
Instagram, and then we also have Human Design Blueprint on Instagram.
Oh, go follow all of it. Follow all of it. I'm going to. I don't know if I follow Human Design Blueprint. I'm going to. Okay, so I guess final thing
Yeah.
is there, just to anyone, any listener, I don't want to say any, to the listeners, to Sally to Heather to whoever's listening right now, who's intrigued and interested in starting their human design journey, and I guess finding a blueprint to their soul. Because I just want to, I'm going to add into this. You, like, when I'm excited, you can see it. It's not fake,
Totally.
right? And when I'm not, I'm like, so like, if I didn't resonate with what you said, you would see it in a very different way.
Yeah.
I completely feel like, and you and I have never done this before,
Mm-mm.
right? We met and are doing this, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
very excited to continue our friendship. But this was very authentic to who I am. So I'm really excited. So to anyone who's interested or wanting to start their journey, um, what final words do you have to, or maybe someone who's even hesitant or skeptical and
Yeah.
like, do I do this? What do you have to say to them?
So I think that like one, I guess two pieces. Like whether or not you choose to dig into human design at all, I think it offers us a really powerful reminder that we're all wired differently. And so if you're trying to show up in business or in a relationship in a way that you think you should, or because somebody expects of you, like, and it doesn't feel good, like just to take a step back and ask yourself, like, is that really the right way for me? You know, and human design is such a cool tool to identify what the right way is. And then I think in terms of the skeptics, like they've always honestly kind of been my favorite people to work with. But I think that like I'm not trying to convince you of anything. So if like anything doesn't feel useful, throw it away. Like you know best, but I will say that people have been so often surprised by how human design just gives language like you experience, I think, to like things you already know and just gives you more permission to step into them. And so like I think again at like the base level, whether or not you think this mystical thing is woo or not, like
Mm.
let it jumpstart an interesting conversation with yourself about how you operate best, you know. And I think that like that's really really valuable. So again, no pressure to resonate with it, just see if it's useful.
I love this. I think, sorry, not to, I know that was going to be the last thing, but now I have more that's coming to my mind. But I think often earlier in my life, and many people I talk to struggle with, we acknowledge that we're kind of programmed to resist things. We're kind of looking for the
Yeah.
holes. We're looking for what's not right. So we can reject it and be right and sit inside of our misery, which makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking of the people in my life. You guys, I get nothing out of this besides I'm just so excited and I want to share this with you. Truly, there's no like affiliate relationship or anything like that. But I really, I'm thinking of people in my life who are at a crossroad or lost their purpose or want to find their purpose. Because yes, I feel like I'm at a place where I'm like, oh, I get it now. I'm glad I heard this, but also I wish I would have had a roadmap like this earlier. Something to
Yeah.
say, this is who you are. This is your struggle. You don't recognize it yet. Because I think it could have helped me avoid a lot, or at least be ready when something showed up. Right. So I'm
Totally.
just thinking of the people who, if you're struggling to find your purpose, you're really um, confused or lost, um, unsure if any of those resonate with you, I highly recommend you try this on.
Yeah.
Go to humandesignblueprint.com, reach out to Erin, and see what you get from it.
Yeah, I think that is, those are wise words. Like I think it can be powerful at any point, but I think especially in a moment of a crossroads, you know. It's like
Oh.
my book is called How Do You Choose? Because it's like you are at
Oh.
a crossroads and you're like, how do I choose this job or this one, this path or this one, this person or this, you know. It's just like, and I think it's such a beautiful way to help us know how we do choose in a way that is really empowering.
That title is perfect.
Good.
Like already I know I'm gonna I this you I feel you. I love this so much. Thank you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you,
Thank
Erin.
you.
Oh, this was such a powerful conversation. It was so good for me. I'm so grateful that you've helped me understand my human design a little bit better. I think we'll have to connect later to kind of get
I know. I can't
more.
wait. Yeah.
And I am very excited. We will definitely have to have you on again. We can talk more
Cool.
about your book. And now I really
Perfect.
want to hear more about it.
Oh, I can't
Um,
wait to share.
oh, and then we'll go into the, I want to go into the other
Yeah.
types of
Types.
things, and we'll do viewer questions. We'll have a lot of fun. How's
That
that
sounds great.
sound?
I can't wait.
Oh, Erin, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. I love you all. Until next time.